My name is David Johnson, and this is the Closed Feedback Loop. I'm the digital marketing strategist of Next Generation Dealer Services and author of PersuasiveConcepts.com. I decided to create this video after a couple of comments that I made on an ADM blog post, that is AutomotiveDigitalMarketing.com, of which I am the social media editor of. Well, there was a discussion involving reviews, and online reviews in particular, and I brought up the idea of the social feedback loop, which is something that I spend a tremendous amount of time with in auto dealers, showing them how to utilize it to take something that may be a negative review and turn it into something that's positive. Now you can see behind me I do have a board, and I have a Sharpie here in my hand, or not a Sharpie, that wouldn't work on the Ferrari race board. But let me go and show you what I have here. If you see over here on the right hand side, I have listed the 4 C's of community engagement, right? The 4 C's, the 4 ways that you can engage with somebody. You have consumption, curation, creation, and the holy grail, collaboration. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can put the negative fires out. That is a bad review, whether it's on Google, Yelp, Yahoo, or any of these other places they may happen to be. I'm going to show you how to take that and turn it into a collaboration, turn it into something positive, and as the end result, earn a customer for life and make the dealership best practices all that much better. Okay, so if you look right here, you'll see that I have a couple of boxes. This top one just signifies the mention. The mention in this video, I'm going to talk as if you already have this put into place, because that'd be a whole other video, a whole other training. But let's just say you have something in place to monitor the web for mentions, to monitor the web for people saying something about you and your dealership, okay? So let's say the mention happens, right? It happens right here, okay? It happens, you see it, and let's just talk about negative for right now, okay? So you have a negative mention. Now obviously there's some sort of monitoring software that you have for monitoring this, whether it's something that you piece together yourself using all those free tools out there, or it's something you bought into, like BrandZeye or Uberview or any of those other number of ones out there. But you have the monitoring, someone monitoring the monitor, right? So they see something happens, and what their job is to do, this person, whether it's the community manager, whomever it is that happens to be in charge of this, what they do is they instantly respond to it. You know, they respond to it saying, apologizing and saying something along the lines of, I'm gonna look into this. I'll get right back with you. And if they don't happen to know the person's name, if it's just like QJ1457, ask what the person's name is, or ask for an email address, phone number, something, so that you can make sure and talk to that person in person. Now, some of these people, you'll see their names on, you'll know exactly who they are, especially if something did happen at the dealership, right? But what this person does, once they respond back to the mention, they forward it on to the person who is best able to take care of it. What I mean by that is, if it is a service mention, something about the service department, it should go to somebody in the service department, whether it's the service manager or a service advisor that takes care of it. If it happens to be with sales, then maybe it's a sales manager or someone in sales that has to take care of it. It has something to do with F&I. Maybe it's an F&I manager, but there has to be somebody in charge of handling very specific types of mention that you may see. Now, it needs to be the person that can make decisions. It needs to be the person who can rectify the situation without having to go to somebody over their head. Okay? Very important that happens. So a lot of people think, well, what if we have an HR person that handles everything? Well, can they say, okay, well, let's give you free oil change, or let's do this, or do they have to go to the service manager and request that? This person must be able to make a decision. Okay? It's the decision this person needs to make that's going to rectify the situation. So once the monitor has, the person monitoring it has asked the person their name and apologized and said, we're going to get back with you, we're handling it, it sends the person in charge. All right, and what they do is they then contact the person. Okay, they contact him in some way. If they mention an employee's name, they find out everything they can about what happened. They ask things that are going on. And they contact the person. Now, hopefully, by the time that all this has happened, hopefully it's just, 15, 20 minutes. It just happens really quickly, okay? We want it to happen as soon as possible. So, the person in charge contacts the person, gets a good hold of everybody in the dealership who was involved in this incident, and they talk to the customer, right? They talk to the customer. And it's really important how you word this. Now, when you're talking to a customer, we may not feel that we did anything wrong. It may just be the way business is done that caused them to feel the way that they feel. But that doesn't mean that the customer is wrong in the way they feel. So, don't brush it off, right? If you brush it off, you're going to have a bigger issue than what you already have. So, talk to them. Ask them what their opinion is. This is important because remember what I said. The holy grail of engagement is collaboration. So we're going to start collaborating with the customer, and we're going to ask them, what can we do to fix this situation? Or what can we do to make sure this doesn't happen again in the future? Right? So get their input. All right? See what they say. Don't just all of a sudden go out there and say, oh, I'm going to give you 5 free oil changes. Maybe that's not what they want. Okay? Maybe they don't want that. So ask them what they want. That puts them in charge of the problem. Okay? It puts them in charge of it. It ensures that it is handled correctly and that whatever needs to happen, happens. Now, I give you a good example. This is about 2 years ago, I did a lecture. And I would say 6-7 months later, I got a call from the gentleman that was at the lecture and said, David, this is the first time we ever had this happen. Can you check out what this person is saying about it? So I did. I must tell you that this was the best negative review I've ever read in my life. It turns out this guy was a journalist, so he's a very, very well written. It was about 1,500, 2,000 words. Huge, long essay. But I found that he didn't only put it in the place that the dealer sent me the link to, but also half a dozen other places. And other people were asking him, engaging him, and one person said, well, what has to happen for this to be fixed? All right? Now I'm thinking, okay, that's the question we should have asked, but it was already asked. And they said, he said, well, buy the car back. To make a long story short, he bought a cash car. It was, $3,000 or something. And as soon as he drove it off the lot, he put some gas in it. And when he shut his door to get out, the handle fell off. So there's a lot of things like that happen. And he ended up spending something like $1,500, $2,000 or something. So he was mad, right? Whether or not he signed the as is or not, that wasn't the point. His perception is that the dealer ripped him off. Okay? Since that was his perception, that was his reality. Since that was his reality, that's what he was spreading. Okay? So it didn't matter whether or not you were in the right or he was in the wrong. So I told the dealer this. Well, they end up buying the car back, end up giving him the money that he spent to fix it. He turned around and bought another car from him, from the dealer. Bought another car from him. And then everything that he posted, he took it down and replaced it with something is equally well written, but it was, but it was nice. It was positive. It was great. And the guy has since then has bought more cars from him. So what he did is the dealer took something that was negative, asked the customer how it can be fixed, fixed it, and then they have certain things they put in place to ensure that it doesn't happen again, which is the next step, okay? So once you have collaborated with the customer, make sure that you go back to your social networks, whether it's on Google Review, but talk about how you fixed it, right? Or you can ask them to go in and edit their review, which a lot of people will turn from a negative into a positive. Or better yet, say, don't just edit it. I want you to leave it there, but down below put an update and how we fixed it, okay? So people can see the negative, and people can see how you fixed it, because I assure you, a negative that is then edited at the bottom and added an update by the customer is much more powerful than just a positive review, because people know that we're going to make mistakes. No matter what, we are going to make mistakes, but it's how we handle those mistakes that will dictate whether or not people talk about us and whether or not people will freak into our business, okay? So once this has happened, once the collaborative event has happened, everything's happy, everybody's, all excited about what's going on. From here, and I put collab, that's funny. That actually shouldn't be there. What this is going to be, the section where we're going to see if this is something that we want to implement into our daily practices, okay? Implement. So for instance, if maybe the issue was customer complained that after they went into financing that it took them a long time to get their car. So they waited like an hour after the paperwork was done and everything. And after looking into it, talking with the customer, figuring out what the issue is, you then found out the reason was because you didn't have enough people in the wash bay on the back, right? So what you do is you hire another person. You make sure that this event, this negative event, never happens again, right? And the only way you're going to do that is you're going to implement it into your daily processes. There was a recent study, and they said only 1% of what businesses learn online, all those negative stuff that has been said about business, only 1% of them is even implemented into the daily processes of the business. 1%, right? That means we're not listening. That means we're not taking all that great stuff that customers are saying about us. Yes, the negatives are great stuff because it gives us a way to get better. It gives us a way to ensure that our customers are talking about us in a positive way. Because remember, it's the difference between what we expect and the actual level of customer service received that dictates whether or not we're going to say something positive or negative about a particular business. So as you can see, what I call this is the feedback loop, right? Because what's going to happen is this negative mention is going to go to the monitoring person, the monitoring software. They're going to send it to the person in charge. It's going to have the collaborative events going to happen. It's going to be implemented back into the dealership to ensure that it doesn't happen again. Then from there, it's going to turn into a positive mention. So from there on, people are going to say positive things about it. So that's why I call it the closed feedback loop. So there you have it. If you have any questions, feel free to email me. You can email me at davidj@nextgendealer.com. You can hit me up on my blog at persuasiveconcepts.com. I'll see you in the next video.